Rain had been falling over Seattle for 3 days straight. Garrett Holloway stood outside Rosewood Cafe, watching droplets slide down the glass windows like tears he refused to shed. His hands trembled as he adjusted his coat collar. October wind cut through the fabric, but the cold he felt had nothing to do with the weather. 36 months since the phone call that split his life in two. 36 months since he'd held Camille's hand in a sterile hospital room and watched the monitors flatline. 36 months since he'd become a widower at 35, a single father to a little girl who kept asking when mommy was coming home. He was a pediatric surgeon at Seattle Children's Hospital. He'd saved hundreds of kids, tiny hearts that stopped beating. He'd coaxed back to life. Impossible cases that other doctors abandoned. He'd pulled from the edge of death, but he couldn't save his own wife. The morning replayed in his mind like a film stuck on loop. Camille in their kitchen, laughing, dark hair messy from sleep. She'd suggested ordering groceries online. Why bother going out in the rain? But Garrett had insisted. He needed fresh basil for dinner. Fresh basil. Such a stupid, insignificant thing to die for. She'd kissed his cheek, grabbed her keys, walked out the door. The roads were slick. A delivery truck ran a red light at Pine and Fifth. Camille never saw it coming. His sister Joanna had been pushing him to date for months. She wouldn't want you to disappear into grief, Joanna kept saying. She'd want you to live. Easy words from someone who still had their spouse, who still woke up next to warmth instead of cold sheets and haunted memories. But somehow Joanna had worn him down. A blind date, one evening. A woman named Vivian who worked at a bookstore downtown. Someone who, according to Joanna, understood loss. Garrett took a breath, pushed open the cafe door. Coffee and cinnamon wrapped around him. Soft jazz played from hidden speakers. Couples leaned toward each other at small tables, sharing secrets and quiet laughter. He scanned the room, looking for a stranger sitting alone. Then his eyes found a table by the window, and his heart stopped. A little girl sat there, 9 years old, brown hair in a ponytail, purple sweater with a small hole in the sleeve. The one she refused to let him mend because it gives it character, his daughter. Ember was swinging her legs beneath a chair, wearing that mischievous grin, the grin that meant she'd done something creative. Something that would either make him laugh or give him gray hair. Across from her sat a woman with dark hair and kind eyes, confusion written across her features as she glanced between Ember and the menu. Garrett's brain short-circuited. Ember was supposed to be home with the babysitter, watching movies, eating popcorn. "Dad!" Her voice rang across the cafe. She waved enthusiastically. "Over here!" The woman looked up. Her eyes met Garrett's. He watched realization dawn, followed by deeper confusion. He forced his legs to move. One step, then another. "Ember!" His voice came out strangled. "What are you doing here?" "Surprise!" She bounced in her seat. "I wanted to make sure you actually came." The woman cleared her throat. "Wait, this is your dad?" "Yep," Ember beamed. "Dad, meet Vivian." "Vivian, meet my dad." The pieces clicked together. "You set this up?" "Uh-huh." Ember nodded proudly. "Aunt Joanna thinks she did, but I used her phone. She leaves it on the counter when she visits. Her password is just her birthday backwards." Garrett felt blood drain from his face. His 9-year-old had catfished him into a blind date. "You went through Joanna's dating app?" "Just a little." Ember shrugged. "I saw Vivian's profile, and she seemed really nice. She likes books and sad movies, just like you." Vivian's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "I'm very confused right now." "That makes two of us," Garrett muttered. "Anyway." Ember hopped off her chair. "I'm getting a cookie. You two should talk." She skipped toward the counter before Garrett could stop her. Silence fell. Heavy. Awkward. Vivian spoke first. "So, not how I imagined tonight going." Join the club. Garrett ran a hand through his hair. I'm sorry. I thought my sister arranged this. She's resourceful. I'll give her that. A small smile tugged at Vivian's lips. And she wrote a convincing profile. I thought you were surprisingly eloquent for a surgeon. Despite everything, Garrett almost laughed. I should leave, take her home, ground her until she's 30. You could. Vivian tilted her head. Or you could stay. We're already here. And your daughter clearly went through a lot of trouble. Garrett looked at her properly for the first time. Warm brown eyes, a kindness in her face that made something in his chest loosen. She wasn't running. She wasn't angry. She was just present. I don't know what to say. Start with why you haven't dated since losing your wife. The question was gentle, not pushy. Garrett sat down. Camille died in a car accident. I asked her to pick up groceries that morning. She didn't want to go, said we could order online, but I insisted. He stopped, swallowed hard. It was raining. A truck ran a red light. That wasn't your fault. Feels like it was. I understand that feeling. Something in her tone made him look up. The kindness was still there, but underneath it was something darker. Something that recognized his pain because it lived inside her too. My fiancé Preston vanished 2 years ago, Vivian said slowly. Left for work one morning and never came home. No note, no explanation, no body. Garrett's breath caught. They never found him. No. Police investigated. I hired private investigators, spent every penny I'd saved. She stared at her coffee cup. I was a 4th grade teacher, had to take unpaid leave to search for him. Eventually lost my job. Now I work at Meridian Books downtown, shelving novels and wondering if he's alive or dead. She met his eyes. The worst part is the limbo. With death, there's closure, a funeral, an ending. This is just waiting, forever waiting for someone who might never come back. Garrett understood now what Joanna had meant. Been through loss too, but this was different. This was grief without a body, hope without evidence, a wound that couldn't heal because it never got to close. I'm sorry, he said, and meant it. Me too, for you, for your daughter. She was 6 when it happened, too young to understand, old enough to remember. Garrett glanced toward the counter. Ember was walking back, chocolate smeared at the corner of her mouth. She's the only reason I keep functioning. Some days I don't want to get out of bed, but she needs me. She loves you, Vivian said softly. That's obvious. Ember slid into her chair, cookie in hand. So, are you guys friends now? Garrett and Vivian exchanged glances. Maybe, Vivian said. Good. Ember grinned through chocolate chips. Because I think you'd be good for each other. You both look less sad when you talk. They stayed another 20 minutes. The conversation flowed easier. Favorite books, worst cooking disasters, movies that made them cry. When they stood to leave, Vivian hesitated. Could I get your number? Your real number? Not filtered through a 9-year-old mastermind? Something fluttered in Garrett's chest. Dangerous. Terrifying. Maybe a little like hope. Yeah, okay. Outside under street lights, Ember took her father's hand. She's nice, right? Yes, sweetheart. Are you mad at me? Garrett looked down at his daughter, this fierce, loving child who refused to let him drown. I should be. What you did was wrong. But, he squeezed her hand, but I'm not completely. Ember smiled, and Garrett smiled back. A real one, the first in longer than he could remember. The text started small. Good morning, how was your day? Ember asked about you. Simple threads that kept connection alive without pulling too hard. Vivian told him about the bookstore, the elderly man who came every Tuesday to browse mysteries, always forgetting he'd read them before. The college students who studied in corners for hours, nursing single cups of coffee, the children who pressed their faces against the window display during story hour. Garrett told her about the hospital, impossible surgeries, grateful parents, the strange peace he found in the operating room where everything was focused and death was something he could fight. 6 weeks passed like water through fingers. Vivian came to Ember's soccer game. She sat beside Garrett on cold metal bleachers, cheering when Ember scored. Their shoulders touched. Neither moved away. Sunday walks in Discovery Park became ritual. Leaves crunched underfoot as autumn deepened. Ember ran ahead, collecting pine cones while adults talked about everything and nothing. Movie nights happened Fridays. Ember always fell asleep 20 minutes in, curled between them on the couch. Garrett and Vivian kept watching, voices hushed, sharing whispered observations that felt like secrets. One evening, Vivian helped Ember with an art project. Garrett stood in the kitchen doorway, watching them, heads bent together, Ember's tongue poking out in concentration, Vivian's patient guidance, her genuine delight when Ember figured something out. They looked like a family. The thought hit like a physical blow. Later that night, Ember looked up from her pillow with two wise eyes. "Dad, if Vivian married you, would she be my mom?" The question hung heavy with hope and fear. Garrett sat on her bed. "No one could replace your mom, Ember." "I know, but I don't want her to replace Mom. I just like having her around. She makes you happy, real happy, not pretend." His eyes burned. "I like having her around too." "So is she going to stay?" "I don't know yet, but I hope so." Ember hugged him tight. "Me too, Daddy." The restaurant was small, intimate, candles on every table, soft Italian music. Garrett's palms were sweating. He hadn't felt this nervous since his first date with Camille, back when he was still a medical student and the future seemed infinite. Vivian sat across from him in a simple black dress. Candlelight caught the gold flecks in her eyes. They talked about dreams, what they'd wanted before life got complicated. Vivian had wanted to write novels, stories about extraordinary people doing ordinary things. Notebooks filled with characters who felt like friends. "Then Preston disappeared," she said quietly, "and somehow I lost myself too. The notebooks gathered dust. The story stopped. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe." She smiled sadly. "What about you?" "I wanted to travel, see everything, take a year off after residency." He laughed bitterly. "Then I met Camille. Then Ember came. Then career took over. And now I just want to stop feeling like I'm drowning." Vivian reached across the table. Her fingers found his. "I stopped checking my phone." "What do you mean?" "For 2 years, every buzz made me think it might be Preston. Finally calling, finally explaining." She took a breath. "But lately, I don't think that anymore. I'm starting to accept he's gone. Wherever he is, he's not coming back." Her voice cracked. "And that terrifies me. Because if I accept it, if I move on, what does that make me? Human." Garrett turned his hand, lacing their fingers together. "It makes you human." They stared at each other across candlelight. Two people who'd been shipwrecked finding pieces that fit. "I miss him sometimes," Vivian whispered. "But I can't keep living like he's about to walk through the door." "You don't have to." Outside, streets glistened with recent rain. Golden light pooled on wet pavement. Garrett walked Vivian to her car. Neither wanted the night to end. "Thank you," she said. "For tonight. For everything. Thank you for giving me a reason to try again." They stood close, close enough to see reflections in each other's eyes. And then he kissed her, soft, tentative, tasting like wine and possibility. When they pulled apart, her eyes were bright. "I love you." The words escaped before Garrett could stop them. "God, is it too soon?" "I love you too." Vivian laughed and cried simultaneously. I love you too, Garrett. They kissed again. Longer, deeper, making up for lonely nights and futures they'd thought would never come. That night, Vivian drove home floating. She changed into pajamas, replaying everything. His smile, his kiss, the way he'd handed her his heart and trusted her not to break it. Her phone buzzed. Probably Garrett saying goodnight. She picked it up, already smiling. Unknown number. 3 words that turned her blood to ice. I miss you, Vivi. The phone slipped from her fingers. Vivi. Only one person ever called her that. Preston. Sleep didn't come. By morning, Vivian had almost convinced herself it was a prank. Wrong number. Cruel coincidence. A knock on her door shattered that illusion. Preston stood there. Same brown hair, longer now. Same green eyes. Same dimple when he smiled nervously. Thinner, worn, but unmistakably him. Hi, Vivi. I'm home. The ground dissolved beneath her feet. Where were you? 2 years of grief exploded out of her. 2 years, Preston. Police investigations, search parties, nights I cried myself to sleep wondering if you were dead. I know, I'm so sorry. Tears streamed down his face. I was in trouble. Bad trouble. Gambling debts to dangerous people. They threatened to hurt you. So I disappeared to keep you safe. I've been working to pay them off. And now I'm free. We can start over. Before Vivian could process, another knock. Garrett stood in the doorway, holding sunflowers. Her favorite. His smile died when he saw Preston. What's going on? Vivian couldn't breathe. This is Preston, my fiancé. Ex-fiancé, Garrett said desperately. Not ex, Preston cut in. We never broke up. The confrontation exploded. Preston demanding answers. Garrett firing back. I was there when she cried about you, when she couldn't sleep. Where were you? Trying to stay alive so I could come back. Enough, Vivian screamed. Silence crashed down. I need time, she whispered. Please. Garrett's face crumbled. Time? We said we loved each other last night, and now you need time to decide if you want him instead? It's not that simple. Actually, it is. His voice went cold. I won't compete with someone who abandoned you, and I won't put Ember through another loss. The sunflowers fell from his hands. Yellow petals scattered across concrete. I opened my heart after keeping it locked away. For you. He stepped back. But I can't stand here while you figure out if I'm worth choosing. He walked away. Vivian called his name. He didn't look back. 3 days passed. 3 days of Preston's constant texts, his rehearsed explanations, his desperate phone calls. 3 days of silence from Garrett. 3 days of Vivian doing what she did best. Research. She was methodical, thorough. The same skills that had made her a good teacher, the same obsession that had driven her search for 2 years. What she found shattered everything. No record of gambling debts anywhere. A social media account under a different name. Photos from Portland, dated during his disappearance. Him smiling, healthy, alive, and in every photo, the same woman. Then the final blow. A marriage certificate. Preston Cole and Rachel Hayes, dated 18 months ago. He hadn't disappeared to protect her. He'd left because he'd fallen for someone else and was too cowardly to face her. He'd started a new life while she fell apart. Now that marriage had failed. Rachel filed for divorce 6 months ago. Vivian was his backup plan. She found Preston at his hotel. Rachel Hayes, she said. Her voice was ice. Portland, 18 months ago. You married her while I was here grieving you. His face went white. Vivi, I can explain. You let me grieve you, lose my job, spend everything searching, while you played house with someone else. It wasn't, and when that fell apart, you came crawling back with stories about gambling debts and dangerous people. I was going to tell you, get out. She stepped forward. He stepped back. Get out of my city. Get out of my life. Contact me again, and everyone will know exactly what kind of man you are. She walked out without waiting for his response. The elevator doors closed, and chains she didn't know she'd been wearing finally broke. Vivian drove to Garrett's house. Quiet neighborhood, scattered leaves, a child's bicycle abandoned in someone's driveway. She parked, walked to the door, hesitated. What if she'd destroyed the best thing that had happened in years? Before she could knock, the door opened. Ember stood there, arms crossed, expression far older than 9. You made my dad cry. The words hit like a punch. I know. I'm so sorry. He hasn't smiled since you left. He's back to being sad. The little girl's lip trembled. I thought I fixed it. I thought if he had someone to love, he'd be okay. But I made everything worse. Vivian knelt down. You didn't make anything worse, sweetheart. You gave your dad something beautiful. I'm the one who almost threw it away. Then why are you here? Because I choose him. I choose both of you, if you'll still have me. Ember stared for a long moment, then yelled into the house. Dad, come here and stop being dramatic. Garrett appeared, exhausted, dark circles, rumpled clothes. Preston was married. Vivian didn't soften the blow. The whole story was lies. He left because he fell for someone else. Married her 18 months ago. When that failed, I became his backup plan. Garrett's jaw tightened. I'm sorry you found out that way. I'm not, because now I know the truth. There's no mystery anymore. No what-ifs. Just you, and Ember, and the life I want to build. She stepped closer. I'm sorry I hesitated, not because Preston deserved consideration, but because I'd spent 2 years defining myself by waiting for him. I didn't know who I was without that wait. She reached for his hand. But you showed me. You and your impossible daughter showed me I could be someone who lives again, who loves again, who actually wants to see what tomorrow brings. Garrett looked at Ember. She gave an aggressive thumbs up. I'm still angry, he said quietly. I know. This won't be easy. Nothing worth having ever is. He took her hand. Their fingers intertwined. Group hug! Ember launched herself at both of them, wrapping arms around whatever she could reach. This is called a group hug. It's for when people love each other and stop being stupid. Garrett laughed, really laughed. The sound filled the house, bounced off walls, chased away shadows that had lived there far too long. Vivian held them both, this man who'd lost everything and kept going. This child who refused to let love disappear. Outside, sun broke through clouds. 1 year later, the cafe hadn't changed. Rosewood Cafe, October evening, rain on windows, same table by the window, same warm lighting, same smell of coffee and cinnamon. But the people were different. Garrett sat with Vivian beside him. On her left hand, a simple diamond ring. Ember sat across from them, now 10. Same mischievous grin, same purple sweater with a hole in the sleeve. You know, she said through a massive bite of cookie, I should start a matchmaking business. I'm clearly very good at it. Absolutely not, Garrett and Vivian said together. They looked at each other, laughed. Under the table, their hands found each other. But seriously, Ember continued, I could charge $100 per match. Rich by middle school. Still no. What if I only match people who were being really sad and dramatic? Especially no. Ember sighed theatrically. You're no fun. We're incredibly fun, Garrett protested. Name one fun thing you've done this week. Silence. See? Sad and dramatic. Good thing you have me. Outside, rain continued falling. Inside, wrapped in warmth and laughter, it felt like sunshine. Vivian leaned against Garrett's shoulder. He pressed a kiss to her hair. Thank you, he whispered. For what? For staying, for choosing us, for not running from my daughter's illegal matchmaking schemes. Vivian smiled. Thank you for opening the door when I showed up, for giving me a chance, for loving me when I made it hard. That's what family does. Family. The words settled over them like a blanket. Hey, Dad. Yeah, sweetheart. Ember looked at both of them. Her parents, not by blood, by choice. I'm glad I stole Aunt Joanna's phone. Garrett tried to look stern. Failed. We'll talk about that someday. Someday, Ember agreed. Not today. No, not today. He pulled them closer. The cafe bustled around them. Stories began and ended. Life continued its unpredictable dance. But at the table by the window, three people sat together. Whole, happy, home. The end love finds you when you least expect it. For Garrett, it came disguised as a blind date orchestrated by his 9-year-old daughter. For Vivian, it came when she finally stopped waiting for answers that would never arrive. And for Ember, she always knew. Sometimes people meant to find each other just need a little push, a little mischief, a stolen phone, and a well-crafted profile. Some stories end with happily ever after. This one ends with something better. Three people who chose each other, not because it was easy, but because it was worth it.